welcome everybody. I'm Debbie Levitt from Delta CX, and this is our usual Tuesday show, Q&A AMA, where you can ask me anything you like about CX, UX, product, services, your job, the job you wish you had, those types of things. And of course, we will have Dr. Nick joining us, but in just a moment, I just want to, of course, thank all of our Patreons, past, present, and future. We've had some people come and go since I made this list, but thank you to everyone who supports me, whether or not you're paying for the Patreon. I just love to see people involved there. Also, our Slack and Discord channels. Hey, check it out. If you go to dcx.to, we've got links to everything and links to asking your question here today. So especially those of you who want to ask a spicy question and don't want your name showing up on the bottom of my screen, go ahead and you can use the link from dcx.to to ask your question. So that being said, and disregard the countdown on the screen, I've got it for 25 minutes, but if we get some questions, we'll go longer. If not, Nick and I will riff for a half hour and then I'm rolling into bed. So Nick, always good to see you. Beard looking nice, if I may say.
Thank you.
Hey, anything you want to say while I have a sip of tea?
Yeah, I've been thinking about what we were talking about before we went live, and what I want to kick off with, I think, is if UX is becoming very much a minority or a very specialist skill set, should we say that? I think that's fair. Then we are becoming more and more like Jedi by the second. And I know the Jedi went extinct, so that's kind of a bad analogy. But for a while, we're going to be definitely the minority, definitely like the user-centric outsiders, disruptors, that. I'm pretty comfortable in that role. And I think that's how my brain is coping with our discussion, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? I think it's not ideal. It's very far from ideal. But I think us, we probably need to remind ourselves of that mission on a regular basis. Like, that's why maybe doing the podcast with you is so great for me, because it just reminds me of the mission, of the good fight. If this rain is coming through on camera, on audio, I'm really sorry. Is it really bad?
That's okay. It's going to come to us after it comes to you. I saw that our weather, we're having an ugly weather day here. So, it's finally passing over. So
it is yucky out there.
Oh.
So, sorry. Yeah. I'm also got a flat roof here. So, sorry, it'll
Tricky.
pass. Anyway. So yes,
the man cave.
UX is stay strong. I can't guarantee you a good future, but your skills, they're transferable and they're valuable. That's not a bad thing. The thing now is how do we highlight those skills and make them valuable to the people who need them? Because calling them UX, you know what I'm saying? It's like the telex or something else. It's a bit quaint and old-fashioned, maybe. It needs a snappier thing because it's become stigmatized. We live in a marketing shiny world. It needs a new brand, I can't swear, I won't swear, but F my life.
And hello to Tom on LinkedIn. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions, put them in the chat or go to dcx.to. There's a link there for asking your question anonymously or asking a long question, since LinkedIn and YouTube don't always love those. The talk that I'm going to be doing next week in Austria, and one of the talks I'll be doing at Convey UX in February, and I'm going to do it on this channel later this month so that it's available to people who can't make these events, is about how I think really the only conversation we should have at our jobs is quality. Do you care about quality? If not, fine. Let's all agree that we don't care about quality and get done whatever we want to get done. But if we do care about quality, or it's in our company values, or, insert thing here, then, sorry, I'm going to have to take off my earpiece and then I won't hear you. Then what are we doing about that? What are we doing to make sure that we're delivering quality? What are our standards of quality? So that's what I'll be talking about.
That's a great question to ask. every time I've had that, there's always a yeah, but. Like, yeah, we're interested in quality, but Q3 results are coming up and we
Right.
got to hustle, otherwise we're not making plan. You know?
Right.
So it's like a yeah, but. It's always a yeah, but. You know, which means it's a no,
Right,
basically.
right. Then
Well,
I
it's
would
a
say
yeah.
then let's agree that we don't care about quality, or quality is fourth on our list after deadlines or something else, and then fine, let's operate from that point, but let's at least be honest about it, and in that case change your company values, change your slogan, change your whatever, because quality is not job one. Our priority is
Yeah.
not the customer experience.
Yeah. Ah, it ain't that black and white in my world. I mean, there are times when quality is critical, like mission critical, some engineering stuff, pharmaceutical, blah, blah, blah. There are other times where it doesn't mean it doesn't mean as much. And there's a whole spectrum in between. That's why I'm such an agilist. Because you got to pivot this. You can't. It isn't like, right, we're a quality house. It's just this week this feature has to be this for now, and then we're going to do it later. But that whole proper good product management or delivery or whatever you call that is gone, like gone, dead. Hovis.
And Tom says, but wait, by quality, you obviously mean quick iterations, fast turnaround, 2-week sprints, and using research as a validation tool for our pre-existing assumptions, right? Right? Yeah, that's definitely not even quality. That seems to be product first and just a lot of yeah, I actually had a product leader on LinkedIn want to talk to me. This was some months ago, and we had a private phone video call in which he eventually hung up on me. But during it, he told me that, yeah, and he's a name some people would recognize as a big product management leader guy on LinkedIn, pseudo thought leader. And during it, he told me that if a product person has an idea and can find 10 current or potential customers that have the same problem, you validated the idea.
Yeah, you know what? My colleague Mario, he's a wise man. I probably can't say this stuff because it's company stuff.
I can't edit it out. You started badly.
I have to edit myself because it's his wisdom, and I want to give him credit, and I want to share the wisdom. But it's also probably it's not confidential. But I just don't want to get close to the line, so I'm just going to zip it. Sorry,
you
guys.
need the job. Don't do it, Nick. I'm going to save you.
It's just out of basic professional respect. You know what I mean, for my colleagues. That's all. I would want them to do the same for me.
Don't do it, Nick.
I won't. Listen, respectful individual, mostly.
Oh my God. Yeah, so this is normally the show where people ask us questions. And the funny thing is, Nick, you and I remember when we used to get so many questions on this show that it was a 2-hour show, and we could barely get to people's questions because they had so many, mostly good questions about research and design and processes and talking to coworkers and things like that. And now we show up and we've got no questions. But I've started doing a Wednesday show a little bit later. You can check the events calendar at dcx.to if you're curious. And I do a separate Q&A, thank you, Q&A, Ask Me Anything, based on my new book, Life After Tech, which is about changing careers or adding non-tech work to your tech career, or tech is done with you or you're done with tech. And that one we filled an hour with last week, and it was the first one I've ever done. So here I thought, I said to my husband, it's my first Life After Tech AMA. Nobody's going to show up. I'll be on for 2 minutes. And that's what people want to talk about. They want to talk about, where is my job and what's up with these layoffs and boop bop a beep. And so I'm here for you, but that's the Wednesday show.
Cool. Look, I think the reason why lots of people don't have as many questions as they used to, or attendance isn't what it was, or both, is the community has taken quite a beating. Like the UX career the UX career path is just, it started to fray, and it's fallen apart. There is no progression. I think that lots of people who are junior or were considering UX are actually looking at it going, I'm going to go into product management instead, or something else. And I just, you know what I mean? The practitioner skills, the process, the questions that arise from all of that are what drove 2 hours of packed questions of politics, of practitioner, of all the stuff, because that's what happens when you're working real UX or close to it or trying to.
We also had a lot of questions back in the day. Oh, hi, Charlene. We also had a lot of questions back in the day. And Charlene, if you have a question, please ask it. We don't have any questions today. We're just hanging out. We also used to get a lot of questions from people who didn't have a UX leader or manager, and so they weren't sure if they were doing the right thing. They weren't sure how to handle different situations, and we were like their temporary, in case of emergency, mentor, advisor, pseudo manager. And I think with so many people being laid off or even moving out of UX, that's just less of a thing. I mean, we know those people who still have those jobs are often in those situations, and that's why we've got the anonymous questions. But yeah, it's been strange to see my community being very quiet. And I've heard from other people who run UX communities that their communities have been quiet most of the year. My community's been quiet most of the year. Tom says, if I had just known that the path to riches was a 16-week boot camp and a complete career pivot on a dime. Yeah, that might have worked in 2017, Tom, but definitely not today. Today, those boot camps and all of those offers to me seem just predatory, especially since a lot of them haven't changed their sales pitch. A lot of these still say, UX is a great, high-paying, stable career with so much room for growth and so many open jobs. And it's like, do you understand that there are like 100,000 of us now out of work? That's me estimating. The last time I said something like that, someone said, prove it. Can't prove it. That's an estimate. And we're all fighting for the same 6.5 jobs that pay half of what they did 3 years ago. I'm about to interview for a job that pays less than my last job did, and I thought my last job paid a little bit on the low side.
I'm ready. I have always been ready to work on commission. And
We've
I am
talked
still
about
ready
this.
to work on commission. I'll do it all day and all night. I'll take the Pepsi challenge with anybody. Let's go. I mean, as long as we're not using color, right? We stop at grayscale. I'll take anybody, or I can stand my own ground. I will make the money for the company and in turn make money for myself. Nobody has got the kind of the lateral thinking to try anything that radical.
I agree. You and I have talked about this before. We said either individually or as a team, there's so much amazing stuff that we can do in a company. We can achieve those goals. We can create conversions ethically. We can make experiences better. We can make marketing and sales have less work because stuff is just better. And hey, we'll take a piece of the action, and nobody wants to take us up on that. So it always makes me wonder what's really going on. Tom has an actual question. Look at us. We have a question. Okay. Let me just copy and paste it because these go in the YouTube description later. Okay. Thank you, Tom. I'll put it up on the screen. Paste. Okay. Tom says, I'm way up here and that's down there. Okay. I didn't fix this. Anyway, Tom says, I'm transitioning out of startup culture and hoping to find a position in an established company that has made significant investments in its UX research and design group. I need a place to learn and grow. What would you look for first and foremost in prospective companies? Yeah, Nick, the first thing that comes to my mind is how different our answers would have been 2 years ago than now. What's your answer now, Nick?
Well, you know what sprang to mind when I read that first? What would you look for first and foremost in prospective companies? A vacancy, right? I mean, it's like that.
Yes, I'm with
I
you.
hate to say it, right? It's
Totally with
literally
you.
like that. It's there aren't shades of gray. It's like, do you have UX or not? If you're hiring, can I have a job? That's about as basic as we're at right now. I mean, you can't like Deb is right. Like 2, 3, 5 years ago, I would ask, what's the lead like? What's their experience? What's the typical methodology there? Is it local? Is it remote? You know what I mean? What sort of what segments are you working with? What audiences? What personas? What are the major pain points? All those sorts of questions. But you ask any of those questions to anybody in today's money, you're not getting that job because you're going to scare them off because you know too much.
Yeah, it's hard. And I think that for some years now, especially because companies either didn't hire UX leadership or hired the game players,
Yeah.
there are very few UX leaders who I really look up to. Whenever somebody comes out on LinkedIn with a list of UX people they follow, it's always a list of people I've blocked or don't follow. So I think because over many years, companies either didn't hire good UX leadership, didn't hire any UX leadership, or hired the people who would play along and say yes to the product managers, yes to diluting UX, yes to whatever anybody wants, yes to unreasonable deadlines, etc. And so now you have these very weak and disempowered UX teams. When people have asked me, can you think of a company that has a really empowered UX team or department? I can't. And also because at some companies it's team to team or product to product. Like someone might say to me, hey, my team at Amazon's actually pretty good. They care about UX. I get to do my job and blah, blah, blah. But then someone else might say, oh, I work at Amazon and oh my God, they don't care about UX. I'm the only person on it's a UX team of one. Nobody gives me any time to do stuff. So you can't even just name a company because then it's really product by product, team by team, because a lot of these companies aren't consistent.
Yeah, and that changes over time with leadership changes. And I mean UX leadership changes. So I'm going to name a positive example because I don't want to name negative examples, if you know what I mean, because then I'm going to get in deep shit. When I was contracting, just by luck and chance, I ended up kind of at Eurostar. And the head of UX there was Natalie Moser. And Natalie is an amazing, amazing UX leader, UX person. She's just fab. She's cut from the same cloth that all us old school proper UXers are. And she gave me a great interview for like an hour, hour and a half, asking all the questions that I kind of just asked just now. And it was brilliant. And it was hard, but great. You're like, yeah, this is good. I can answer these, but you're asking the right questions. She then went to Tesco's and her teams all report good stuff. She's doing great work over there. My point being is that I don't think Eurostar's UX team is as great as it was when Natalie was there. And I think if Natalie was to lead,
it's so much
Tesco's,
about the leadership.
Yes. So what I'm saying is look for the person, look for the individual. If they are on LinkedIn, if there's somebody who's got a voice who you respect, find who they work for, see if they've got a vacancy. I mean, I know it's a shitty way in because I get loads of that, and I don't have the express route into HR either.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's just another one in, but it'll help you narrow things down as your target. It's not just such a wide horizon if there are pockets of goodness, and there are pockets of goodness. That's what you're looking for, those bubbles. Those people.
My last job was really good. Unfortunately, they cut the budget, so they're not hiring. But I really liked working at Arizona State University. I was a lead UX researcher there on a roughly 1 year contract. And I, other than one unfortunate experience I had, it was quite a good job with real support for UX. I heard since I've left, I heard they even delayed the release of the product because they wanted time to make it better. When's the last time you saw that? So I'm very proud of my former team and project for their continued great work. But I couldn't tell you about any other team at Arizona State University or any other university. And so you can't just, so what are you looking first and foremost in a company? You're looking at the leadership. When you see who's interviewing you or who the leadership is, go to LinkedIn. See how long they've been working in UX. Unfortunately, sometimes I do that and I go, oh, wow, the person who's going to be my boss has 1 year of UX experience. This is strange. I mean, I don't mind working for people with less experience than I have, because most people have less experience than I have, and I can learn from them, and I'm open to that. And but then sometimes if I see someone with 1 year experience, I go, that's weird. They should really be the junior, not the head of. Let's read some of the comments. Marcella says, to our surprise, in huge global companies, there is a very bureaucratic culture that makes CX and UX work difficult to lead. Yes, they want the business outcomes and they don't want to do right by the customers to get there. Charlene says, I'm seeing such bad job descriptions of UX jobs out there that I'm just scared to think about moving to a new company. Totally agree. And I think many companies are counting on you feeling that way. They're counting on you feeling like you can't leave or you shouldn't leave. And that's a sad reason to stay with a company. Chantel P says, funny enough, I did some user testing with Eurostar earlier this year. It was interesting. ...
You know what? I've done some of my craziest, most rogue maverick shit when my back has been against the wall, either in a gig, like as a freelancer, or as a permanent member of staff. Like when you're mentally about to check out, you'll do a lot more than you would do before that point, if you know what I mean, right? So what I'm saying to you guys is, if it's a difficult market and you can't go elsewhere, it's better to try to make it better where you're at. Now, I know that sounds obvious and maybe even impossible or difficult, but because your back's against the wall and you pretty much got nothing to lose, you might as well hustle it a bit. And when I say hustle it, I mean try some stuff that you haven't tried before, some higher visibility, higher profile stuff. Remember, simplification and abstraction are the kind of North Stars on this one, right? If you can put the right message out simply, cleanly, you'll move the needle and start to make a little bubble in your own place. And that's the way, that's what I'm trying to do, is create bubbles, because the world is never going to be a bubble again, but we can create good bubbles within them. Like Natalie Moser does, for example. She creates bubbles everywhere she goes. We need to be bubble makers. God, that's an awful analogy, but it kind of works.
It. And Tom linked to a job, and I went and looked at that job. And Tom, that job looks normal compared to jobs that I've seen. And in fact, it sounds like someone else has seen some of the weird jobs I've seen, because we just got an anonymous question. And it sounds like this person has not only seen some of the jobs I've seen, but they got the interview. So let me just copy and paste this, and we will do our best to help our anonymous question person. So hold on, let me put Tom's question. It's a long one. So someone sent us a long question. We welcome long questions. It's just going to come up in a tiny font, and I will have to read it out loud. All right. Hold on. There's even more than this. So Nick, I'm going to have to read it out loud. Get your notebooks ready. Says, thank you for providing such valuable... It's tiny. Thank you for providing such valuable content on CX and for sharing uplifting insights, especially during these times of tech layoffs. I have an upcoming UX research interview for a fintech company. There's an analytics round, but I haven't been given too many details. They're expecting me to know statistical analytics, tools like R, Python, and SQL. This is what I could find that is most relevant in the job description, apart from experience in qualitative research methods. I wanted to ask if you could provide any insights on what could be expected in this round, and how should I best prepare for it, given that the HR team hasn't provided much clarity. Not sure if I should ask this here. Yes, you should ask this here. Okay. Nick, you want to answer that while I try to make this question bigger?
Yeah, no, it's fine. Are you sure this is a UX research or a user research?
I think I saw this one. I think I saw this one.
What do you mean?
I think I saw this job posted. So I saw, and I didn't
Oh, I
apply
see.
to it because it was like, oh yeah, not only do you have to be a researcher, but you have to know Python and R and
No, no, no,
SQL Server.
no. Those are the tools of a quant researcher, a quant analyst. Somebody uses SPSS, Mathematica, right? That's a different research role. If it's put down as that's what a quant analyst does typically, and you get a big fat salary for that. It's a different game. It's a maths or a stats job. It's quant research, but that's a completely different game to user research, UX research, or anything like it. So I could understand if they were expecting you to have, as an optional, a nice to have, understanding of statistical analytics, not R, not Python, but yes, SQL, right? Or statistical tool of your choice, right? Because there are folks like me and other folks who have a leaning in that direction. We're not statisticians, otherwise I'd be earning the fat bucks doing that as a quant analyst, right? But that you're going to a fintech company, or that's a fintech company. It culturally that makes sense, but that's asking way too much, or it's not the right description, the right job title, and the right job description.
Ignore the gong. We're going to keep going. Gong meaningless. Gong was an accident. So I think I saw this job and I didn't apply for it because I have minimal R, no Python, and no SQL. And I think that for some quant heavy jobs and a lot of survey stuff, it can make sense for someone to want R. Python starts to make me wonder what exactly you're coding, and SQL Server or SQL really makes me wonder what the hell you are coding, because or do you really have to go in and be able to handle a back-end database? So first of all, what are they going to ask you, or how do you prepare for this interview? I don't know, but I wouldn't have applied for it if I didn't feel confident that I could show them something. That I could show them something I've done in R, or something I've done in Python, or something I've done in SQL. And so if you don't have that, then you can get the interview, but I'm not sure you're going to pass this round of the interview, especially if this round of the interview is, we want to see how you are with your statistics and analytics. So I can't tell you what they're going to ask you. I can't even guess. But if you applied for this, my hope is that you've got something that you can show them. Or, yes, help me out here, Nick. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, just be prepared. Whoever's asking this question, if I'm right or I'm close to right, that's going to be a barbaric interview, because they're going to ask you, it'll be over within 15, 20 minutes, or you'll be out the door by half an hour. They'll close it early. And I'll tell you why. They'll ask you something like, here's a data set, or here's something or other, or what analysis you're going to run. And you won't have a clue what to say, because you won't even know the answer.
They might actually give you the work. They might actually say, here's a data set, do a thing.
Yeah. 100%. But before they get you to do some kind of practical, or show us your chops, they'll ask you some basic stuff. So, methodological stuff. What would you do? What happens under this condition? Name a time when. This stuff. And
tell us a story about.
You'll get crucified because you either have it or you don't. Seriously.
And I didn't apply for that job because I don't. I can talk about qual all day long, and I can talk about screener surveys and some simple survey methodology, but I am not going to be able to talk about anything that to me looks like back-end or database dev work or Python. I mean, yikes. So, that I didn't even apply for that. And that's part of why I advise people. It sounds a little weird for some people, but only apply for the stuff that you're likely to qualify for. It doesn't make a lot of sense to apply for a job where if they brought you into an interview, like for example, sometimes people say to me, Deb, why don't you apply for product manager? You know so much about product strategy and blah, blah, blah. I bet you could do the job. I bet I could do the job too. But a lot of product management job descriptions say you must have managed and launched a product from 0 to 1. That means if I get into an interview, they're going to ask me, tell me about the time you managed and launched a product from 0 to 1. And I'm going to have to say, I didn't do that.
Or you have to make it up as you go, like most people do, or get AI to generate a script which you learn and then spout back in an interview. The whole world has gone batshit crazy and nobody knows what good looks like anymore.
Yeah, I could lie, but then I don't think that's a good place to start any relationship. And so I would rather say,
why,
sorry, I haven't done that.
Yeah, but that's why folks are getting jobs, because they're lying. It's a valid strategy in today's world. We are in a post-truth world. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm a scientist. It's like my whole world has gone upside down. Like validity is a post-concern, not even a concern. It's just about stories and marketing. It's pissing me off a lot.
Ana Lucia, thanks for pointing out that our bot was late in notifying you about the live stream. I will make a note to check new video bot, and I'll look into that. So yeah, thanks. Sorry about you getting that notification late. Of course, if YouTube gave people timely notifications, I wouldn't have to worry about Zapier pulling something from my Google Calendar and telling you in Discord. Charlene says, fake it till you make it. Yeah, and there's still a lot of that advice out there. I saw the other day in writing my article about 10 reasons why I don't like Maven and I won't be using them again, and I don't recommend that anybody use them. I saw that out of Maven's top 10 courses right now, they are all AI and product management. And the top course was $1,800 for a 2-week course with no homework or assignments, so no feedback from your instructor. And it had to do with improving your product sense. And that told me everything I needed to know.
Yeah, I need to write a product fucking... Sorry.
I thought about writing a product course. In fact, I even started mapping out an entire product market fit course. And I still think I'm onto something because I'm taking a different direction with it. But I also worry that it won't be successful. Why? Because I'm taking a different direction with it. Because I'm not just rehashing the same Teresa Torres, Marty Kagan, Google stuff. I would say, look, here's what product market fit really is. And product market fit is made or broken in every interaction that your potential customer has with you. It's not something you find for once and then you can't lose it. You can lose it. But I think I'm going to have the unpopular perspective that people don't want to hear, because I'm going to be talking about quality. And why talk about quality when I can sell you an $1,800 course on your sense?
Yep. What do you want me to say?
Anything you like.
Nice.
Tom's got another question, so I'm just copying and pasting it.
Fake it till you make it is a valid strategy in a world without accountability.
That's true. If there's no reason to do or be better, go ahead and be poor or mediocre.
Listen, if there was police on the road, I'd drive at 1,000 miles an hour everywhere I could.
That's a little fast. Okay. Tom says, do you see a material difference between UX management and research ops, or is research ops just the next iteration of what we knew as UX management? No, I didn't think research ops was UX management at all. So, Tom, I don't know where you got this, but let Nick and I tell you at least what we've seen research ops mean. Nick, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I mean, for a start, we need to preface it in terms of, like, you have to be at a certain scale to need or have research ops, right? You don't get research ops generally in SMEs or startups kind of thing, or, you know what I'm saying? You might do, but with the larger scale. And the reason being is there's a lot of administrative stuff that goes on around research, most notably recruitment and consent and other stuff. When you've got a lot of researchers, coordinating all of that and doing all of that as a researcher, as a practitioner, it's a lot. It's an awful lot. So for efficiencies, for centralization, for control, research ops is effectively centralizing a lot of that stuff, so that one person is taking care of the stuff and supporting, or a team of people is supporting a wider team of active researchers. That's how I see it. That's my experience of the thing.
So hold on, just responding to someone. Okay. Yes, and so what I wanted to add to that was just that, from what I understand, research ops is not the operations of running a research team or a UX department. It's not UX management. Research ops, in many but not all cases, is the fancy word that sometimes they're giving to a very low-level person who comes in as a research assistant and is usually a research ops, at least as far as I remember, is a job where you're going to do a lot of the grunt work, where you're going to write the screener survey, send out the screener survey, deal with the responses that come back, manually pull out some people you think you want to meet, contact them, schedule them. I've typically, and sometimes you are the keeper of the research repository. So most of the research ops jobs I've seen were not manager level or higher. They were not strategic in that kind of departmental sense. They were really just the operation of a research project. And I don't know why it's called research ops, because it sounds like it's a lot more strategic or operational or managerial than in many cases it is. Nick, anything to add there?
I've never really seen that menial version of it, but that's just on my travels, And actually, I've been stationary for the past 18 months for the first time in 10 years. So, you know what I mean? My velocity has dropped a lot.
That's mostly what I've seen when I've seen those jobs pop. And then some years ago, when I knew some people who had those jobs, it was usually a great first job for an up-and-coming researcher who wanted to get their foot in the door, and they were going to get that foot in the door by being a sort of assistant to other researchers. If research ops is becoming a term for research management or team or department management, I haven't seen that yet, but I can believe it. Let's see. Ana Lucia says, I think something may have changed meanwhile, because I've seen UX seniors going into research ops and they're promoting the hell out of it. Yeah, I don't know. When I saw design ops being used as a term, I wasn't too sure what that was. Is that, so again, we're in a world where everybody keeps redefining what our terms mean, because I know some years ago research ops was a lot more menial and a starter thing. Hello, Elizabeth. So yeah, I don't know. While we're talking, I guess I'll go over to LinkedIn and see if I can find a research ops job, and we'll all talk about what the hell it is. Let's see. Research ops. Worldwide. UX research operations, Slack. Okay, so Slack has UX research operations. Oh my God, they want 10 years with SQL, Tableau, and Salesforce. What is this? Oh, Ana Lucia.
Right, I don't think Tableau's been around for 10 years. I'm just saying.
No, it says 10 years of SQL, 10 years of usability testing, exploratory interviews, and concept testing. And then it says ability to synthesize large amounts of information to identify trends is critical. Experience with SQL, Tableau, and Salesforce. And that's the research ops job? So
can I just say,
what is
Tableau's first release was 2004. I couldn't have been more wrong. So Just if anybody heard me say that, ignore it.
No, and it doesn't say 10 years of Tableau. It says 10 years of SQL. I'm looking for other jobs that say research ops, and I'm not finding them. So if these jobs are out there don't seem to be that many of them. And Ana Lucia name dropped someone, and you name dropped someone who I blocked on LinkedIn. So I wouldn't know anything about what that guy is working in or what he's moving to. I only know that he is someone I blocked. Etc.
How come you keep moving around?
So I'm moving around because I have two different scenes. When people put enough chat messages on the screen and they cover your face, I move over and I move the messages to the side. So I've got these two different scenes, and one of them has the messages on the side and me above you, and the other has the messages over your face. So sorry about that. Tom says Slack is owned by Salesforce, so maybe that's their inefficient way of saying they want to have a subject matter expert. Yeah, I don't know, but I would think that even if research ops has my definition, or research ops has a newfangled you run the department definition, why would you need to have 10 years of SQL? Someone help me with this.
It's all cultural. I mean, there's another fintech company or an AI company or thereabouts.
I don't know.
Because let's face it, if you're going into that kind of a place, you need to be able to query a database. You need SQL.
Yeah, but why is a UX researcher querying SQL? Usually we partner with data analysts and we say, hey, can you pull this data for me? So what now? We're firing the data analysts and the UX researchers have to know SQL?
No, but if you've got SQL anyway, then there's a job for you there.
Strange.
I know bits of SQL, not a lot. I mean, everybody has to do a bit of SQL in their lives.
I've never had to do SQL.
Really?
Really?
Oh, okay.
When would I have done that? I started out as a designer and I transitioned into research, and I never did academia. So when would I do SQL?
No, I've had to as part of my UX career. There are places where in order to get the info, the data, you got to do a bit of SQL. It's just some basic stuff, nothing crazy, just pulling shit from tables.
Nope, I've always had a data analyst who was the protector of that data, and you went to them and you asked them to pull the data for you.
Wow. I know, I've had that too. And the web analyst or the data analyst is always like my first buddy up in the building. Well, apart from the call center with a big box of chocolates. You know what I mean? Those are like my kind of... Well, but again, those days are gone. Those days are really gone.
Lots of days are gone. So we've got a question from Elizabeth, and then we've got a question from Ana Lucia. So yeah, we're going to fill out our program today. Okay, so this is the question from Elizabeth, and it says, I'd love to hear from both of you. What would you consider a role that's outside of tech where UX skills could easily transfer over?
I love that. I think I've probably fallen asleep to that very question every single night for the past 3 years. Like, how the F do I get out of here with what I've got and pick up some value elsewhere? I hear you. Is that Elizabeth? I feel you. I really do. I mean, how can I transfer out of this absolute quagmire? I don't have an answer for you. I just wanted to just show kind of love and support because I'm feeling exactly the same. I'm racking my brain. For me, I think it's something entrepreneurial because we're problem solvers at heart and we know how to build product. So do something entrepreneurial and start to just use all the skills that you've built up over 10 years or however long that is. Because if you know how to build good product, which we all do, just build a good product and sell it and make money. And that's what I'm just working out now is what is that product or service? Because I've designed products and services for everybody else. Why don't I just design one for me?
So true. And Elizabeth, I have an answer for you, but it's chapter 9 in my new book, Life After Tech. And again, you don't have to leave tech to read it. you can stay in tech and start to do some stuff outside of tech. But in chapter 9, we cover transferable skills, but it's not going to make much sense if you haven't read the chapters before it. So please don't skip straight to chapter 9. You're going to miss some pieces. Lifeaftertech.info will sell you the book in various formats. I think the digital version is $10, the print version is $18, and I think the Audible is around that as well. So I recommend that very strongly. And Elizabeth, if you're not already in it, I have a new community for Life After Tech. I'm doing a separate community, separate YouTube channel, separate shows, and there I'm working on supporting people who are looking to leave tech or start adding non-tech stuff to their tech world. So just go to lifeaftertech.info. You can find out where to get the book, and you can go to the resources page and find out how to join all the other stuff. That Discord community is more active than my Delta CX Slack community right now, which used to be quite active. So yeah. Charlene says design museums. Nick, something to add?
I have a question. No. I have a quick question for you. Just a very quick question. Well, two parts. Number one, is Audible good for you as a revenue stream? Is it worth doing? And part two is because I haven't got time to write a book, but I probably could find time, I think, to read a book, to read a book, to do an Audible book. Can I do an Audible book without having a physical book? Or if I do the Audible book, does that then become the physical book? Do you know what I'm saying? It seems like a weird workflow.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So first of all, Nick, you need to make a private appointment with me, since I'm going to be shifting into more coaching of people to get books out of them. And I won't charge you, my friend. So please, for fuck's sake, get an appointment with me and let's talk about this in greater detail so we can get that book out of you finally. But to answer your question specifically, an Audible book is best when paired with some sort of other format. Either because of the way Amazon's database works, it's best when it links up with a Kindle or a print book. And I also find that there are people who want all different formats. So if you only make Audible available, you do knock out a bunch of people who are looking for a print or a PDF or an EPUB. So I think it's worth having the multiple formats. And again, we can talk about how I can help you format your book if that's the bane of your existence. But yeah, hypothetically, you can have an Audible book. Actually, an Audible book in a vacuum is probably harder than I'm thinking, because now that I think of it, the first thing that happens when you log into your ACX account, and ACX is where you upload files for Audible, it's acx.com. The first thing it asks you is which existing book in Amazon's database are you providing files for? So I think you have to have at least something else in Amazon's database, either a Kindle or a print, to link it up. So that would be thing one. Thing two, oh God, what was the other question? I forgot to write it down. Oh, was it, can you record? No, what was the second question?
No, you got, can you do the audio and then kind of transcribe the book from it, basically, like reverse workflow?
Yeah, so the way that I recommend book writing to people, especially people who feel like they're more talkers than writers, is to speak the book. And in fact, most of this book came from me sitting here with Dragon Dictation, #not-sponsored. So basically, I spoke a lot of this book, which is how I was able to write a 40,000 word book in a few weeks. And because I was going at the speed of speech and thought rather than the speed of typing or other things. And so I do recommend that people write with a transcription solution, even a free version of Otter, #not-sponsored, or some of these other things. I have the free version of Otter, which I use, which will record up to a half hour and a certain number of minutes per month. And then I paid for Dragon Dictation in a Black Friday sale a few years ago. And luckily, it's not a subscription yet. It's a one-time purchase. So I paid $200 or $300 for it a few years ago and haven't had to pay again. But you have to dictate like my dad did in the 70s. You know, you have to say like, Cap, I'd love to hear from both of you, Cap, what would you consider a role that's open quotes, outside of tech, close quotes, where UX skills could easily transfer over, ? to get what's on the screen now. So book some time with me, my friend. Let me help you get your book out of you. I'm trying to go more in that direction and offer that as a service, because I think that is something I could be paid to do, especially since I ghost wrote Larry's book. I think by now everybody knows that. Larry's disruptive research book was mostly written by me based on information from him. So, I'm the ghostwriter. So I took my name off it and I credited myself as the ghostwriter. So yeah, that's an area that I'm hoping to get into more, helping people plan their books, write them, format them, self-publish them, and stay away from predatory publishers. Elizabeth has responded, thanks for your honest answers. It's something I've been thinking about as someone who's invested years into building up my skills and transferring into UX, but it's hard not to become disillusioned. The UX landscape seems so bleak right now. Elizabeth, the Life After Tech community is for you. It's really starting to heat up, and a lot of people are starting to feel like the book and the 18 exercises in the book are super cathartic, very validating, and a few people have even said you've inspired me to go for something I've been thinking about for a long time. So I think we're going to get there. I've also started a new podcast, a new YouTube channel, and I'm still trying to get a job in tech, so I'm not going to tell you have to leave tech, but I'm also trying to build up non-tech businesses, like helping people publish their books. That's not necessarily a tech business, and maybe that's something someone will pay me to do. And that. So yes, do it, Elizabeth. We support you and salute you.
Elizabeth, before you leave, before you check out of UX, right? I know you're looking at the door. So am I. Some weeks or sprints is particularly attractive, but that's just a perspective thing. It's not necessarily valid. You know what I mean? You've probably heard me talking about bubbles, right? I opened this up with, the world is on fire. Make bubbles, find bubbles. It's about bubbles now, and so. When your back's against the wall, you've got nothing to lose. And so it's probably better for you to try to make things better by hustling or going a bit more renegade, pushing boundaries a little bit harder than you normally would do, because you've got nothing to lose, because you're looking at the door anyway. Before you fully check out, try to make it better. Try to bring some user centricity in. Try to get regular research. Try to get leaner research. Try to show the value in a really lean, efficient way. Because everything else has become massively overcomplicated by pretenders and bullshitters. So just do the good work if you can. And even if you can't, do it anyway. Because if they fire you were going anyway. Right? But do the right thing do the right thing the wrong way, if you know what I mean, with the best intention.
And please join up the Life After Tech multiverse. lifeaftertech.info, y'all. Our last question today is from Ana Lucia, who asks, how would you use task analysis to feed into a service blueprint or service design related tasks instead of using things that have been promoted to do, like jobs to be done?
Meh.
Not necessarily Nick's favorite topic.
Well, you know what? I feel that the whole service design area is one of the areas of UX because it's splintered so soon, and that was good for them. They probably avoided a lot of the BS, but they're out there on their own, and service is probably going the same way as we are. It's overcomplicated. This is a lot of jargon. Task analysis is great. Service design blueprint, blah blah blah. Have you actually used a service blueprint of any value? Or was it just wallpaper, pretty wallpaper?
It's all about the action we take on it. If you can make a customer journey map and nobody does anything about it. So, that's not.
Yeah, you know what? I've done that same sort of service or journey mapping in your most basic keynote with, box, arrow, exclamation mark, problem. You know what I mean? I mean, that's all it needs to be. I don't need 5 swim lanes with happy, sad, and all the bullshit that goes on. Because that takes a tremendous amount of time to communicate something in a really complex, information-dense, rich image when I just want to say, this is the problem. It's not a very UX way of pointing it out. Anyway, sorry, Anna Lucia. That's a terrible answer. In fact, it's a non-answer. I also hate jobs to be done these days because it does me more harm than good. So there we are.
Yes, and I think everybody knows I'm also not a fan of jobs to be done. In fact, the section pooping on jobs to be done in Larry's book was completely written by me. But you're welcome. I do like service design, and I hope it lives on. I have a better feeling about it than some other things. So how would I use task analysis to feed into a service blueprint? So Anna Lucy, if you already know from your task analysis what are the steps that thank you, Elizabeth, you know why. What are the steps that a user is taking to try to perform a certain task? You can start with those as the steps in the service blueprint, but the problem is that the service blueprint doesn't cover some of the things that the task analysis covers that I think are very important and help us find and solve problems. The service blueprint tends to take the angle of, look, these are the steps that the user is taking, and here's the interplay with our company. Our company did this that the user saw, our company did this that the user didn't see, we had to have this done, we had to set up these logistics, we had to have this in place. And so I think that's an important map as well for problem finding and problem solving. But to me, it's a separate animal from what a task analysis is for. But they could still have in common the user's workflow, but you're just mapping you're mapping the user's workflow for different reasons. Like you could make a customer journey map, take the user's workflow and try to attach it to feelings and some of the other things that end up in customer journey maps that I don't really love. So once you've got a good look at a user's task or flow or steps, and you've got it in a task analysis, you can turn it into other documents, but those other documents or maps are usually looking at the journey in a different way. And you would have to dig into the business side of things and be able to say, the user did this step and that was because of this thing happening at our company, and here's an opportunity for our company to not suck so much because we made this step suck. Nick, something to add?
I mean, look, task analysis feeds everything, right? I mean, yeah, and it's where the happy sads start to go and everything that Deb said. Hang on, instead of using things being proposed instead of jobs to be done. Yeah, look, the whole point of a task analysis is generally to find out, where the pain points are. And I'm sorry, just when in my simple mind, my simple little neuro brain, you've got a journey map and a service map, and they're kind of one and the same. Just one is a product and one is a journey. They're boxes and arrows, and this is what you do next. This is the journey that you go on, and they branch and stuff as the contingencies and stuff. I don't fetishize it like those guys do. I mean, maybe that's what's necessary, and maybe that's what's necessary for strategic UX management at an enterprise level, for sure. I mean, maybe. I'm down here on the practitioner, sleeves rolled up, kind of more tactical level, and building good services and good products. About finding the pain points. How you want to convey that is up to you, and also what's culturally relevant locally. I just hope it isn't JTBD.
Yeah, I got some great comments on, I don't know if anyone, I think a lot of people are spending less time on LinkedIn, and I can't help but be for that. Someone had posted, there was this ridiculous thing going around LinkedIn recently where it was like, hey, check it out, OnlyFans, which you may or may not know is a porn site. OnlyFans is making, $30 squillion a year, and they only have 42 employees. And then they could try to compare it to Google or Microsoft or Airbnb, and trying to say like they have tens of thousands of employees. And it was kind of a like, they must be doing it wrong or they've overhired. And it was like, I said, you can't compare porn to anything else. Well, and first of all, we don't know if there's 42 workers and 2,000 contractors and freelancers. We don't know that. But you can't compare porn to pretty much anything else, because, and that's where I said, like, hello. I said, I said a successful porn site is really good at jobs to be done, no pun intended, because they know why the user is there. The user is there to find the thing that they're into and see the thing that they're into, and that's it. And if you put anything in their way, then you don't make your money. And so it's like, you don't, I don't know. Nick, save me here.
No, listen, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but OnlyFans is an agency type model, right? Business model, right? I'm going to act as an agency for people who are not my employees to sell their services through my platform, right? Which could be, it's just Etsy, but for adult entertainment. Do you see what I mean? You need 40 people to run the platform and to provide some basic support, and that's it. But you're comparing apples and airplanes. It's ridiculous comparison.
Yeah, I said like OnlyFans and most porn sites are not a feature factory. They just have to keep making a better search and metadata so people find what they're into. And if it's a user-generated content site, like the OnlyFans customer puts up their own porn, then it's not like you need a whole bunch of people working at this company to create content. The content's created. It's a two-sided marketplace. So like you can't compare Microsoft, which has to create all kinds of hardware and software, to a website where people put up their own porn and other people go and watch it.
What was I about to say? For about 20 years of my IT and UX career, or I haven't done this for about at least 5 or 8 years, because it's really, I think unsavory is probably the word, right? I used to talk an awful lot about the UX of porn, right? Now, not the interaction with the content, I'm talking about everything else. So I will dig out some ancient screen caps I've got where I've blurred out absolutely everything apart from the UI, right? So it's just literally content divorced from presentation, so I don't let dodgy content get in the way of my point. But the point is since the mid-90s, the adult industry has driven all kinds of technologies. It's silently driven it, and no one talks about this. It drove scalability, it drove security, it drove load balancing, it drove marketing and advertising, it drove payment and e-commerce. It still has driven UX in many regards. And here's some homework for you all, and this is going to be fun because you're going to love this. Go to the one that ends in hub. Can I say it out loud?
If you want.
That one. No, Pornhub. Go to that one. It's like the world's biggest porn site, right? It's the one with the black logo.
In a private browser, perhaps. In a private browser, people.
Yeah, and don't do it at work. God almighty, don't do it at work or on work hardware, because this is not safe for work stuff. You shouldn't be going there. This is private UX research. And you're not going there to enjoy the content. That's for afterwards or another time. I want you to look at, number one, the information architecture. Okay? Not easy. If you want another one, there's a website that is not an adult website called Accu in the UK, ACCU. It's a hardware. They sell screws. Oh, that's a terrible thing. Bolts, hardware, right? And the point is amazing, incredible UX and IA. When you're dealing with a really difficult IA like Pornhub or Accu, look how they've managed it. Look at all the facets. Look at all the various search filters. Look at the various controls to control this massive digital library. Okay. Now, you take all of that learning about this massive digital library and you take it to your job at Goldman Sachs or wherever else you're working. It absolutely applies because it's divorced from the content, which is pornography. But those guys, they are making bazillions of money. They are highly incentivized to get perfect UX, perfect e-com. You want inspiration? Go there. I had a whole conference talk. I had a LinkedIn post all about this. I dare not be an old white guy telling people to go look at porn. Bottom line. So you heard it here first. It's all gold, though, man. It's all pure gold. Maybe not the content.
Can I just say how sad I am that I'm trying to apply for a job right now and the cover letter is mandatory, as if these people are going to read it.
Well, as if anybody's actually going to write one without using AI? mean, it's honestly, it's gamesmanship on both sides of the table now. It's just a bullshit echo chamber.
Yeah, I'm just not going to apply. I'm just so done with it. Yeah. Okay. So that seems to be it for our show. Thanks to everybody for joining. Sorry it ended with a bit of porn. Just to mention what Charlene was saying, she wrote, I feel Service Blueprint is not always the way to solve issues, create what works, and what help love the problem. I was working with the policy team on my last project, and instead of creating a Service Blueprint, I created something the policy team could understand. Yeah, you just have to make the diagram that works for whatever you're working on. It doesn't have to be a diagram you've ever seen before.
User-centric policy development is or was quite a hot topic in central government a few years ago. It got me really excited because it's user-centric policy, which is basically scientific policy or data-driven policy, which is like hallelujah. That's what we want. So I don't know if you're working in government or as policy at a big enterprise type place, it is a buzzword for them, or at least it was. Maybe there's a way in to do good work through them, to do good research, user-centric work that informs policy. Brilliant, good stuff, That would be great. Seems like an opportunity for you there.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm going to play us out of here. Let me check if I'm doing this next Tuesday because I'm going to be in Austria speaking at a conference. So let me check if I'm canceling next Tuesday or not. As of now, not. I'll try to do it, but we'll see what the conference schedule is. So hopefully I'll see everybody next Tuesday for more of this. But how about y'all come tomorrow? Tomorrow is the Life After Tech Q&A AMA. It starts at 8 p.m. Italy time, which would be in about 20 minutes from now if you are not good with time zones like I'm not. But if you join our Discord, it'll give you the time in your time, which should help, especially since clocks are going to change soon. So hope to see everybody at that live stream. Nick, thanks as always. Nick is here every second Tuesday, so we'll see you in November. And, we'll just say the conversation will be continued.
And good luck if you're in Florida. Sending much love and hope.
Yes, everybody stay safe. Bye. Thanks.